Welcome to Love, Lust, and Lies, and I am your host, Ken Canion. And on today's show, we're going to talk about, does age really matter? All right, let's start off the show by saying this. I got an inbox, and the inbox went something like this. She said, "Dear Ken, I have been dating a man that is 10 years younger than me, and I really like him. He really likes me. We have a lot of interest. But, however, my friends say that I should not date a guy 10 years younger than me because it makes me look like a cougar. My question to you is, what do you say? Should I date a guy 10 years younger than me or not?" Let me start off this conversation by saying this. It is not the age itself that matters in relationships. It is not the age of the person. It is what matters are three things. So, because what happens is we get to talking about, we think about age in terms of if the person is 10 years older than me, if the person is 10 years younger than me, would that really matter? When I'm 50, they're 40, does that matter? So I say this. I say what matters are the three things that I'm about to tell you. Age is truly a number because there are people who've been in relationships with people who are 10 years older, 10 years younger, and they have a fantastic relationship. But however, it's more about mindset than age. It's more about the age. It's more about the mindset of the person who has the age. Because I know there are people who are 20 years old, but they act like they're 40. Okay? I know there are people who are 50 years old who act like they're 30. So the question is not so much the age of the person. It is the mindset of the person. So what I told her was, in any relationship, I probably wish I had put this as the title. The three things that really matter in relationships. There are three things that in relationships, if you get these three things right, if you perfect these three things, then at the end of the day, your relationship can and will work. So let's get cracking. So I told her, I said, think about relationships in terms of this. It's two people are attempting to navigate life from different speedboats. All right. Two people. Now think about this for a moment. If you're in a speedboat and your partner's in a speedboat, but you guys are trying to navigate both speedboats with one steering wheel. That's kind of how marriage is. Marriage is like two speedboats and you're trying to navigate them. So with that being said, there are only really three things that matter. Only really three things that matter in relationships. Now, everything else in a relationship falls under these three things. If you can get these three things right, if you can get these three things perfected, the relationship can and will last. And I've done this, girl, because everything in any relationship falls under these three things. All right? And I should have changed the title, but that's all right. I didn't. So when you're looking at relationships, what really matters, age is not one of them. Now, we as human beings get caught up in age because what age does, age reveals many times the mindset of the person. All right. And so what we're going to talk about today are the things that really matter. Like I said before, the only thing that matters is the mindset of the person with the age. And so the true things that matter are these three things the three things that matter other than age. Number one, first thing that matter is relationship goals. Relationship goals. If you're in a relationship and your goals are the same. See, what happens is in a relationship, there's a thing called congruency. Congruency is our relationship goals are congruent with each other. You see, if I'm 55 and she's 40, our relationship goals can be congruent. If her goal is to be in a long-term relationship where we share core values, and my goal is not to be in a long-term relationship with core values, that has nothing to do with age. What that is our relationship goals are incongruent. When your relationship goals are congruent, that's the reason why people think, I'm not talking about having a conversation about where are we, what are we doing. A lot of women want to have that conversation. More importantly, I want to know what your goals are, your personal goals and relationship goals. Now we might not work, but we know if our goals are incongruent from the beginning, it's not going to work. That's going to matter way more than how old we are. That's going to matter because, y'all, I see people get in relationships all the time, and because they feel good about the person, because the person is fine, because the person told me, oh, beautiful. If your relationship goals are incongruent, it ain't gonna work. I don't give a damn how much you love him, how fine he is, or how fine she is. I don't care how good the sex is. If at the end of the day, our goals are incongruent, it's not going to work. If true, think about this for a minute. There are people who are married and they've been married for a while, and they find out later on in life, they find out that the person they're married to, they don't know this person, because what they found out is the person's goals are different. The person's goals are not on the same track. That's where you get the whole idea of we grew apart. You know the whole thing about people, we grew apart? And what we grew apart simply means this. Our goals in life began diverting to different directions. You wanted to do these things. I wanted to do those things. Now our relationship goals are incongruent. And what you need to do is you always, as a couple, if you're in a relationship, you have to revisit those goals. You have to revisit how you're working together. My wife and I are going to be celebrating our 19th anniversary tomorrow. But every day, we had a conversation this morning about financial goals, about what we want to do by the end of the year. Even during COVID, we talk about the goals that we have personally, our own personal goals, career goals, what I want to get out of this life. I tell her what I want to do with these lives. And so our goals are still congruent. If you're with somebody and your goals are incongruent, I doubt very seriously if the relationship is going to work. Number one, that's the first thing. Number two, the second thing, core value. See, here's what the thing is. Why do people, Zappos, y'all, Zappos has a policy. You have to go through two kinds of training. First of all, when you apply for the job, you have to have a skills assessment and you have to have a culture assessment. And in Zappos, so once you have to pass both to get a job. Now, Zappos have this they're a customer service oriented company. They sell shoes, y'all, but they're known for their customer service. Now get this. When you get a job at Zappos, if you've passed both of these tests, assessments, what happens next is they send you to a 6-week training that talks all about the Zappos culture, all about the culture, right? And at the end of this training, they offer you $2,000 to leave. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. They offer you $2,000 to leave. Do you know that 97% of the people who get the job, get offered the $2,000, decide to stay? You know why they decide to stay? Because they say the culture is so great. And all culture is a shared group of values that we share together that is the same. See, at Zappos, they believe in individuality. That's a culture thing. That's a core value thing. They believe in people not being on time. They believe in giving people the autonomy to share their creativity. That is a core value thing, a culture thing. And so here's the thing. How do you transmute that to your relationships? Here's how. When you're with somebody, if your core values are different, the relationship will never work. Listen to me carefully. Here's what I mean. So I often say this. Attraction will get you the person, will get the person. Core values keep the person. Attraction will get the relationship. We're both attracted. Core values are the only thing that can keep the relationship. What do I mean by core values? If you believe in saving money, you believe in operating on a budget, that's a core value thing of yours. And the other person that you're with doesn't believe, they believe in just spending. Okay, they believe in you get to spend it, the stimulus check from the government. Just spend it. Let's blow it. You only live YOLO. You only live once, baby. You know, and that's not your core values. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. If your core values is believing in family, spending time with family, we take trips together, but you want to hang out with your girls. You want to go on trips with them. That is incongruent. One of the things you have to find out is what you stand for, what you will stand for, and what you stand against. A lot of times we get in relationships and our emotions betray us. Because you're so excited in the early going, you don't look past the early going. You look past the red flags. You look past our core values. All right, they're a little bit different, but people are different. And you end up finding out that the person is not the person you wanted to be with. They don't have the core values that you wanted. And now you find out I am in a relationship with somebody who doesn't represent what I desire. But because I felt good at the beginning, because they made my hormones rush, because it was fine, they made me feel good, the sex was good, they slapped me on the ass and said, you're beautiful every single morning. And you look past all of the other stuff that really mattered. Y'all, that's the thing I'm telling you. Number two, the thing that really matters is number one, relationship goals. Number two, core values. And number three, the last thing that really matters in relationships, just these three, everything else falls underneath these three, is communication style. Bam! Boom! Communication style. And what do I mean? I didn't say conflict resolution because how we communicate, our style of communicating with our partner will go a long ways. Because think about it, y'all. We're two different people. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different ideologies. We come from different perspectives. And what happens is we're trying to navigate life together. And see, where people screw up is they don't know how to communicate that which is in my heart to the other person that I'm with. And so they get frustrated. So many times they communicate based on how they are. I did a whole thing on toxicity. How do you know the relationship is toxic last week? Go back and look at it. I talk about communication and communication style. Many people will say things like this. Well, I'm just direct. I am what I am. I'm going to communicate the way that I communicate. And you just get it or you don't. Mistake. And here's why that's a mistake. Is when you're in a relationship, understand this, that communication has two parts. There has a sender and there's a receiver. And if you're trying to get across the communication, the sender, the one who is sending the communication, is always responsible for the communication. I don't care what happens. They're always responsible for the communication. And so what happens is if you're saying that I'm only going to communicate with you the best way for me, even though I'm sending it, then many times the communication doesn't get across. Its intended message doesn't get across to the other person. And so what I tell people is this. I say, stop communicating with people based on the way you are and start communicating with people based on the way they are. If the person is reserved, communicate reserved. If they don't take kindly to the direct style, then what you want to do is be more subdued in the way that you communicate. Okay, be more tactful in the way that you communicate. And y'all, because at the end of the day, it is not the communication that is important. It is the person receiving the message that is important. Did they get the message? Did they understand the message? Did it make sense to you? Because what we do many times, what do, y'all? We focus on the messenger and we forget all about the message. And so I tell people, I said, listen, stop communicating the way that you do so that the person you're communicating with doesn't get enamored, doesn't get focused on the messenger, but they start focusing on the message. Y'all, everything, those three things are the things that matter in relationships. Number one, it's not age, it's relationship goals. If you have similar goals, it makes sense. If your goals are similar, it makes sense. Number two, core values. If your core values are incongruent, it will never work. Attraction may get the relationship, but core values keep the relationship. And the last thing is communication style. If you are not willing to change your communication style, you will never have the relationship that you truly desire. Everything else, trust, respect, all of it falls underneath those three things. Trust falls under core values. Respect under core values. Cheating, core values. Okay? They don't want to get serious. That falls under relationship goals. They don't know how to communicate with me. Under communication style. Everything in a relationship that will ever happen in a relationship falls. All right, y'all. That is my time. That's it. I am Ken Canion, the host of Love, Lust, and Lies. And until tomorrow, be good, have a safe day, and remember, every journey starts with one step. Take yours today. All right, y'all. Peace.